day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and if you guys enjoy this video, you should subscribe for more Attack on Titan videos. And if you're an anime only and you want to discuss the show with me and some other people, you guys should join our Discord server. It's a lot of fun. It'd be nice to talk to people about the episode during the week as well, because obviously we have this video, which is partly reaction, partly discussion, analysis, and theorizing, but it's always nice after these videos are done to engage with you guys in the comments. And so Discord is basically like a prolonged comment section in a more moderated way. So if you guys are down for that, you guys should check that out. But otherwise, if you have never been here before, this is how it works. The full timer and subtitle reaction will be up on Patreon, but this is my reaction to the biggest moments, the coolest moments, anywhere where I had a big reaction. And then afterwards, we do a discussion where we'll theorize and do an analysis and stuff like that. So if you guys are down for that, why don't we just get into it? Let's go. Is Eren getting through? Oh, did he break his teeth? Oh, God! Oh, I did not need that. That's so, oh, I can feel it. I can feel the pain in my teeth. Again? What? Huh? So he just jumped out and retransformed. That's so cool. And then his husk is still there. That's so cool. Uh-oh. Oh, what's that? That's sketch as fuck. Who's that? Is that Armin? Oh, Armin! Oh my God! Armin, yeah, because I forgot. They still had Armin up their sleeve. Oh my God, yeah, y'all thought they couldn't fight against a military? This transforming is gonna kill so many people. Oh my God, I almost didn't even recognize Armin. Was Armin the tall soldier with the haircut then? Oh my God, this is so epic! What? What? No! They did not! They did not just kill Zeke like that, did they? You're joking! What? Oh, damn! He got sniped! He's dead! Oh my God. Oh, man! Oh no! All the guys that rescued her! And is she dead too? All the guys, her unit! Okay. Okay. Oh, Pick, no! Ah! Oh, he made a dent. Did you see that? Oh my God. Are they gonna use him to open it? Eee! Yeah, and then Eren can take his foot, just scrape on the, scrape his foot on the crystal a little bit. Ah, damn. Oh my God, it's so confusing. Yeah, it's so confusing. my god. Oh, what if she goes to try and save him? Oh. And so he has to do it for them, right? I think Pick is dead. Oh! Oh my god! Oh my god, I'm like falling. Reiner's up and awake after all. Oh. What? Oh my god. Oh my god. Attack on Titan's fucking popping off, bro. Alright guys, let us get into the discussion now, and I have some crazy theories for you guys this week. I have some certified tinfoil hat theories, so I hope that you guys will enjoy that, but let's start over here. I just want to say, it was so crazy how this show pulls you in so many directions of who to root for. You saw, like, there were Survey Corps people dying, and then our Titan shifters from Marley were in trouble that we've gotten to know for the past 7 episodes, and so it's really been crazy to have this tug back and forth. It's like, oh my god, no, like, these guys are getting shot, and like, a couple times you see, like, them just getting bodied, and it's just like, they're not even, like, they just pop. Like, it's so, like, gruesome to say, but the bodies just pop when they get shot in some of the scenes later on, and so it's just crazy how the show is able to pull you in so many different directions, because you are connected to basically everyone. You're connected to every side in some capacity, and so yeah, this was like, it was just crazy too, how it made you feel hopeless for one side, and then suddenly the tables turn. Like, I don't know how the show did this, but last week I was like, don't worry guys, Armin's coming. Like, when Armin comes, Eren will be able to handle this. But while I was watching the episode this week, I was like, I totally forgot about Armin. Armin left my memory. And so the show did a really good job at making you, like, forget about him. I'm sure I'm, like, probably one of the only people that forgot about him. But while I was watching, I was so invested that I wasn't even thinking ahead. Like, I wasn't even thinking, oh, logically, Armin must be around here somewhere. Because I said that last week in our discussion, and it's easy for me to say that in our analysis and in our discussion after the dust has settled, after I've calmed down, right? But when you're invested in the episode, for me at least, I like didn't even think about Armin. It didn't occur to me until I saw the guy on the boat, and I was like, oh yeah, like all that stuff I said last week, like why didn't I remember any of that? And it's because it just captures you so well that you forget about all your outside thoughts and theories while you're actually reacting. But yeah, now I'm just like, oh, well, I said that last week. Why didn't I remember? Why didn't I remember that I thought Armin was coming? I totally forgot. But it does such a good job of pulling you to, oh my god, it looks hopeless for them, especially when you see all the troops later, and then it pulls you back to, oh, the Survey Corps got it, like they got it, right? And so it's just amazing. Oh, it's just amazing. But yeah, we'll get into all of that. Oh, I thought this face from Mikasa, like I just thought that that was like really nice. There's so many good shots of her in this episode, and I just love that expression. And so she, like, you know, she has this more gasp, and Levi's just like, tisk, like they died. How could they? Right? Like he just has this look on his face like, they were too slow, I guess. It was just such a great facial expression from him. And then we see everyone sort of ducking in buildings, trying to get away from the gunfire. And then we see that Pick has come into battle, like radiantly coming to save Porco. I think there's something between them. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's something shippy between them. And so I think that if Porco looks kind of like he's in a bad situation. He has been near death a couple times. But I don't think that Pick is dead. First of all, you see her in the preview. So I don't know if that's a spoiler. I really thought she was dead when I saw that look on her face that we'll talk about later on. I really thought she was dead. I don't think that that she's going to die yet. I think that she's close, but I think that his recklessness, I think that Porco's recklessness has gotten him into trouble. Porco has gotten off too lucky. Like, I think that he has escaped, he has cheated death a couple times this episode. But yeah, I just love seeing their relationship in battle. Like, he's the stubborn, reckless one, she's the more strategic one, and I like how they have each other's back. Like, it was just so nice. It's just so nice, and I ship them, even though, like, their fate is probably not gonna be good, so it's like they're never gonna be together. You know what I mean? Like, they're already sort of, like, the clock is ticking on how long they'll live because they have Titan powers in the first place. So it's sort of like doomed love from the start is a very common theme in this show, I think. And then we have the Warhammer Titan, and she is trying to get sort of a last stand, like she's trying to put up one last fight against Eren to see if she can do anything, and Mikasa is obviously worried, but Eren blocks it and it cannot go any further. And Eren says later that that was the last of her power. If she wanted to, you know, poke him through, she would have done it by now, but she can't. And it's just so, like, that was something in the episode that really freaked me out, is her. Like, I can't imagine, like, you're in this crystal, I guess, and you're just helpless, and you're waiting for someone to rescue you, and then the only enemy that can figure out how to open you, like, comes into battle, right? Because that was a big mistake on Porco's part, I think, was the fact that he went into battle, and that's how Eren figured out that the only thing that can break the crystal is another Titan, and is him. And I think that that's going to be important later, and that's why I feel like Porco is also going to die. And maybe be a part of Eren's, like, battle set, if you want to call it that, like, Eren's set of powers, because they still have to get Annie out of the crystal, and so I think that it would be interesting if Eren gets Porco's powers, they go back, they get Annie out, and, like, that has been such a long plot thread for the past, like, you know what I mean? Like, she has been in that crystal forever, and so I would love to see her get out of that, and if that means sacrificing Porco, then, like... But it could also equally be possible that Porco, like, lives, and then Annie is brought to them somehow. Like, Annie was brought here with everyone else or something like that, and then she gets clawed out by, like, the Marleyans. So it could be equal that she is rescued by the Marleyans, and then Marley actually frees her. But I think it would be more interesting if they free her after all these years of having her in the crystal, right? And so there are some great parallels to Annie's situation and then the Warhammer Titan right here. And this is just terrifying, like this shell of her former self that she tried to use to just, like, you know, try to poke him, like try to kill him one last time. Now let's talk about this scene, okay? Conspiracy time, all right? This is where I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. Something happens in this scene, and I find it so sketchy. I find so many things so sketchy. So to catch you guys up, if you've never watched any of the other discussion videos before, and I would suggest to watch them, they all sort of build on each other, as you would expect. So I have this theory. Let me put down my mouse. I need to move my arms while I talk about this. I have had this theory that Zeke is, like, deep double agent. Like, he is super incognito, and what I mean by that is that him turning in his own parents was part of this whole plan, and he is, like, deep double agent for the, like, what were they called? The Restorationalists, or, like, the Revolutionaries? You know what I mean. Eren's dad's, like, group and stuff. I think that he may be, like, deep in, because there are a couple reasons, and the first thing that I noticed a couple episodes ago now, 2 episodes ago, was the fact that Armin, or I guess it wasn't Armin, it was like somebody with a beard, so it was another character that looked familiar to pick. But anyway, the beard guy just let Zeke go, and just let Zeke go to the gate. Now, what I was saying was, okay, well, it makes sense to send Zeke over there if, you know, Levi's waiting for him, or someone's waiting for him to kidnap him, but clearly, whatever, like, wherever Zeke was supposed to go didn't mean anything, because, like, Zeke's clearly walking around, so they didn't do a great job of kidnapping him like they did with Pick and Porco. And to be fair, they didn't do a great job kidnapping Pick and Porco either, but that was because Pick, like, used her strategy brain and whispered an SOS to her friends. If that didn't happen, they would have genuinely been stuck down there if those guys didn't happen to be passing through, right? So that's the first thing, is why leave Zeke, who is one of the most damaging Titans, in my opinion, considering what we've seen of him, especially in previous seasons. Like, he's one of the most damaging Titans, and y'all just let him walk around in his own devices. Like, if he was even slightly suspicious of the order to go to the gate, he could have fucked off. Like, he could have gotten help. He could have went anywhere, right? And so that's my thing, is that seems like too much of a risky move. So leaving Zeke alone, that's one. That's basically the biggest one, is leaving him alone. And there is something else that happens here that is so like tinfoil hat, and I'm so sorry that I'm gonna subject you guys to this because it is very tinfoil hat, but actually there's something else that happens in this episode that I think point towards it too. But that's been my long theory, like basically since the start of the season, especially because you have Zeke being like, oh, like my deep secret that you don't know yet, and then you have like, oh, the Marleyans are listening to us. Obviously he didn't say it like that, but that sort of tip off, right, to everybody saying that somebody was listening in on them. Like there's just some sketchy things about Zeke, but there's something right here that is probably crazy, and it probably doesn't mean anything, but leave me alone, guys. But Levi looks over, because the Beast Titan's coming, and it's very, like, subtle. It was a very subtle thing, but I noticed it, like, on my third time watching, because I watched this episode a couple times before I make my discussion, and it's just this light that happens right here. And so I don't know if I captured a screenshot of it, because again, it's very subtle, but I think that I tried to get it anyway. And so what happens here is that the light from his eyes, like, he blinks. And, like, I know that sounds crazy. Like, his eyes just go less bright, if that makes sense. Like, he's blinking or something. And I know that that's like Cal. The Titans blink. Like, it's okay. But I can't help but wonder, I'm watching another anime right now, it's Promised Neverland, and they use like a lot of Morse code and signals and things like that. Like I can't help but wonder, like what if Zeke, what if that blink, like what if that was some sort of Morse code signal blinking and he's blinking at someone? Is he blinking at Levi? I don't know, but there's something else that happens with Levi later where Zeke is like, you know, calling for Levi to come out, and Levi's looking at his watch as if they had this, you know, preconceived plan for Levi to come out at a certain time and pretend to get him, right? Like that's what I was thinking when I see that watch scene. So I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but that's just the mood today. Like I just can't contain it. I don't know if I captured it. I tried to, and so we'll see, and everyone sees that Zeke is coming. We get this great line from Gabby. I think that this is just, oh, this is gonna be so good for her character, and just to see her in all the rubble and this determination to kill Eren, I thought that was really good. I think I captured it somewhere after here. So yeah, you guys can see, this is when I started to try and get it. But yeah, we'll talk about this. Let none escape, kill them all. So again, does that necessarily line up with double agent thing? Like, not really, but at the same time, like, what if he was just confident that they wouldn't actually kill them all, right? And then you have don't die on me, survive. And so I really like that. I like that from Levi. I like that a lot. But here's where it started, okay? So you can see it, like there's this, you see the brightness? Okay, so you see the brightness, and then they go in, he's squinting there, and so I didn't catch the full blink, but you see that there's a difference between the brightness in the eyes, and he blinked right there or something. Yeah, see? Like his eyebrows are down, and then his eyes are like back up, and so you can see that very subtle change right there. And so I'm like, these are obviously, you know, red glowing eyes. He's one of the only Titans to have like glowing eyes constantly like this, or at least I think so. Out of my memory, right? Like he just sort of has orbs, whereas Eren like has actual eyeballs, right? Like these glowing orbs in the distance. And so I wonder, like, could you be signaling someone? Could you be doing some Morse code? Because if you do Morse code and SOS and stuff with like flashlights, why not his glowing red orb eyes? So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Zeke yet. I don't know, but I feel like something's weird about all this. And we'll talk about that scene with Levi later, but I noticed it and I was like, what's he doing? Like, why? Like, I guess, like, he could have just blinked, but I don't trust it. Especially because Levi is looking at him. Like, you see one of Levi, like, out of the corner of Levi's eye, and it seems like that something's weird about them two later. So, anyway, maybe that's crazy, I don't know, but I thought that it was pretty interesting. And then you see, like, Levi go after him, but, like, what if it's one of those things, like, remember how, oh god, what season was it? I don't remember, I think it was Reiner? I think that Reiner, like, tried to slide past Annie to tell her, what was it, Eren's location, I think, and then, like, she ran into that direction because she knew, like, what if they're talking? Like, what if they're talking up there? What if they weren't fighting? We've seen people do that before, but yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly onward. This moment of Falco just like crawling out and seeing this very like in slow motion, seeing all this war and all this fighting and just how it's so slow and melancholy. Like, at first I was like, oh, well, that's an odd music choice. I know a lot of people have had problems with the music this season. I'm personally not one of them, but when I first listened, I was like, oh, well, it seems like everything's very slow. Like, that's different. But I realized that this is through Falco's eyes, right? Like, this is what Falco is seeing, is this very, like, somber moment of all this, like, violence and all this zipping around and very slow zipping around, because that's how he's sort of seeing it, right? And so I think that that was an interesting choice, and I actually really like that. I just love seeing the fight between them. Again, I really like seeing all the shots of Mikasa are just so good. So they're trying anything. They're like, can we break the fucking crystal? But they should have known from Annie. Like, I know it's not the exact same, but like, it's pretty close. And so if y'all couldn't break Annie after all this time, I don't know why you thought that this was gonna work, but they have to try, right? But I just wonder, like, couldn't Aaron just open his mouth enough and just like shove it down his throat like a cobra, or like those snakes that like eat the animal whole and just like gulp? Like, couldn't they do that? They couldn't. But I think that what they ended up doing was cooler, with Jaws, claws, and then also his teeth. I think that that was actually a really, really nice moment. So I'm glad, but I wondered that. I was just like, can't you just like can't you just like shove it in there? I guess not. But I thought it was such an epic scene later on. But this must be just so terrifying for her, because she's just watching all of this happen, right? And she can't do anything about it. She just needs to hope that the tide of battle changes and that she gets rescued. And that must be a terrifying position to be in. I think that this is a really good scene, because I think that Falco's rage towards Eren and Gabby's rage towards Eren is going to make a nice foil between them, because I think that ultimately Gabby and Falco, whether it's ideologically, like, it may not, like, they may still both fight for Marley. Like, my theory about Falco siding with Paradise seems a little like in the toilet. Like, it doesn't seem like that's happening anymore. But I think that in terms of their mindset, in terms of their morality and how they feel going forward, their ideology, I feel like that they are going to be at odds. I feel like that Falco's ideology and Gabby's ideology are going to conflict with each other. Falco and Gabby are going to be at conflict with each other. They may not be on opposing sides per se, right? I don't think that either of them are siding with Paradise at this point, but I think that internally both of them will be siding against each other in like an emotional, like mental way. I think that you guys get the idea, right? And they already have that friction about Reiner. What to do about Reiner? Do we just leave him there, or do we beg for his help, which Gabby does? And so we'll get to that, because I do want to talk about that scene, but let's talk about this one. He's unconscious, but his body should heal itself with the power of the Titans. That is, as long as he has the will to live. And so I feel like that is basically what comes into play later on, is that Falco realizes from the scene a couple episodes ago that Reiner no longer has the will to live. And I think that that is very interesting for a scene with Gabby later on. And we know that Reiner can hear. Like, whether he could hear here or not, what a sentence, guys. Whether he could hear right here or not, I'm not really sure, but he does hear Gabby later. So I wonder if Falco's words were not enough to convince him, right? Because he says, like, hey, there's me, there's Gabby, the others were all at your side. He's trying to convince him that there's still something to live and fight for. But I feel like that because Gabby was so desperate, that's what called him out of it, right? Like a screaming child. Like, how can you ignore these screaming children? Because Falco is talking very, I don't know, like, I don't want to say matter-of-factly. Obviously, there's an emotion behind it, but he's talking very calmly. He's being very calm to Reiner. Like, don't worry, everything's okay, we're still on your side. And I feel like that doesn't have as big of an effect on him as Gabby literally screaming and crying. Like, how can you ignore this child cry like that, right? It reminds me of like a baby crying. Like, you can't help but go over and see like what the baby needs, right? And so I feel like that Gabby is like that. There's just something so raw and powerful about her calling for Reiner's help later on. I feel like that this doesn't entirely convince him. I think that this conversation could have piled on to the conversation, like both of them in combination, right? It doesn't need to be one did it and the other didn't, but the way that I see it, it's like this alone did not convince him. It was either this in combination with what Gabby did, and so maybe there's something to say that both Gabby and Falco's approaches are not necessarily wrong and they can jive together, Or it could also be said that Gabby's approach may be the correct one, or the one that works, at least in this instance. So what it all means, we'll have to see. Like, I don't know if this is speaking on a higher level to how their ideologies will work out, and if Falco needs to be more like Gabby, or if Gabby and Falco need to compromise with each other in their thoughts. I'm not sure yet. So I'm pretty sure some Survey Corps members died in here. I didn't get the capture because we're trying to still monetize this video, even though monetization like doesn't really do anything. But if you guys do want to support the channel, hey, Patreon, YouTube membership members, you get the full reaction, all that stuff. But yeah, I tried to like avoid the shots that had like copious amounts of death, I guess, but it's really hard to, because I'm like, I want to have a genuine discussion, so we can't really censor it, right? But yeah, there was some death in this scene. I love seeing how they both work together, and so I thought that Porco was done, but it doesn't seem like he was actually done, because he went back into the Titan after, so it's like, he just backed out of his mech suit a little bit, like, you know what I mean? Like, he just, like, came out and then he went back in, so I thought that that was kind of funny. I don't know why it was funny to me, but it just was. Then we get this horrifying scene. You guys saw my reaction to it. This cringe where like just something inside of you recoils at this, at Aaron like, like breaking his mouth and breaking his teeth. Boy. And so yeah, she's crystallized like Annie. And so I wonder if that's subtle foreshadowing to the fact that either the Jaw Titan will be eaten and that is how they will get out Annie, or Annie will be recovered by the Marlians and then Porco will, like, you know, bite her open, I guess. So what was cool about this is they're all just watching, and then Aaron just leaves his empty Aaron husks and makes another Aaron husk. And I'm like, is he allowed to do that? I don't remember them doing that. Like, I thought that they were out of commission a while after they basically use up their whole Titan form, but I don't remember, and I don't really care. Like, sometimes I understand we like continuity, okay? Love me some continuity and rules of the universe, but I also like rule of cool, you know, and it was cool, so I don't really care. And so yeah, so Porco just like goes back in, right? And so I thought this was also a very good scene, because like Gabby and Falco, I feel like are in conflict with their ideology and their strategy. Porco and Peck are also in conflict, right? She's like, hey, there's no need to rush, they're not going anywhere, they're surrounded, there's boats coming, there's soldiers outside, why are you rushing into it and risking your life? Like, for what, right? Like, they're already in big trouble. Like, you don't need to go out there and do those things, and he didn't listen, and look what happened, right? And so I feel like that was a really great scene, because she's like, we're the ones controlling the battlefield, and I feel like it was so epic. I mean, was she kind of wrong? Yes, because the Colossal came in and destroyed all the ships, and destroyed a lot of soldiers, I'm assuming, and so was she wrong? Yes, but was Porco wrong? Also yes, and so maybe that is the message between them, is that we see this conflict between both of their ways of going about things, and both of them ended up being wrong anyway. Maybe that will be the same fate that befalls Falco and Gabby. So that's an interesting thing to think about, but I really loved her strategy. I thought this was great. And this is where I was like, oh my god, she's right. Like, she did such a good job of convincing me, and again, because I was so invested, I forgot all about Armin, because she didn't mention it either, and so nothing reminded me. I was like, oh shit, she's right. Their fuel is limited. Are we in trouble? Like, she did such a good job, I think, of convincing me. I don't know about you guys, but I think she does such a good job at convincing the audience that the Survey Corps are in a very bad position, and I think they still are. Like, don't get me wrong, they still are in a very bad position, but they weren't as stranded as we thought they were. But it really, like, I feel like that a good show will make you sway and worry like that. Like, the characters are convincing for a reason, right? And so I feel like that this was a really good scene, because I was convinced. I was like, oh my god, there is no escape. Fuck. Like, I was just like, fuck. Oh my god. And so I thought that was really, really good. And so he says, but if we take out the founder right now, they can't do the rumbling. Their trump card is right in front of us. And so, oh, Porco. Just a moment of silence for Porco, please. And so I love their fighting with each other. I think that was great. And then this happens. Right now, just focus on protecting the war chief from Arkerman. And what happens? And so there's something wrong with this, in my opinion. That's pick for you precisely. And so that is sketchy to me. So this is back. This video should just be called My Zeke Theory, because that's basically what that is. And so I think that the reason why, like, here's the whole plan, okay? The plan was he wants Peck to focus on them and not Aaron if he is a double agent. Why? Because he wants to make sure that Aaron doesn't actually die, because this has been the plan all along. And so I like that he agrees with Peck trying to dissuade Porco, maybe because he doesn't actually want Aaron to die. If they focus on him, they'll just lose, a couple soldiers, no big deal. And so I wonder if that could be it. Because he's like, that's Pick for you precisely. Focus on me. Don't focus anywhere else. Focus on me. Because I think if the three of them went after Aaron, they could probably do damage to him, right? But the only reason that Zeke is not going after Aaron is because he has beef with Levi, this manufactured beef. And so I feel like that this manufactured beef was an excuse, because Zeke could be like, hey, I was dealing with Levi Ackerman, okay? Like, don't come for me. But in reality, he never wanted Aaron to die here in the first place. He never wanted the founding Titan powers to be recovered in the first place, and to distract them, he wanted Porco and Peck to just focus on him, so he manufactured this whole thing with getting Levi, protect Levi from Ackerman, right? And so I feel like that was probably plan B, though, because in plan A, they planned to just not be there in the first place, right? That was plan A, was for them to stay in that hole, and I'm sure that was why, because all three of them could probably do some significant damage to Aaron. But now the Beast Titan's sitting here like, ah, shit, they got out. What do we do? Oh, get them to protect me and focus on me to protect me from Levi, right? And so I feel like as if he needs protection from Levi. Like, no offense, but I don't think that Levi could 1v1 Zeke, right? Like, I feel like this was all manufactured. I feel like this was all part of the plan. And that precisely, that, like, makes me so suspicious, because it's like in one of those animes where it's like, precisely, you should think that, because that is what I want you to think. And then he says, Aaron is not my enemy. And they're just like, what? Like, what do you mean? Someone else comes first, and then show yourself, Levi, right? And so it's like he doesn't seem to want Aaron to die right now. And so they could probably take him, but he doesn't want to, and he's looking at the time. Why? Because maybe there was a specific time that they planned at the gate for this to go down, and so Levi's checking his watch and seeing what time it is for them to pretend to kill Zeke, and maybe what will happen is that they'll pretend to kill Zeke, Levi would have taken Zeke, and then Zeke will go up in the airship with the others, and what will happen is that there's this big reveal next episode of Zeke being like, I bet you all wonder why I'm here with you today. Like, imagine if there's just a bunch of Survey Corps swords pointed at him. It's like that meme of Flynn Rider from Tangled. It's just that meme, like, all the swords are pointed towards him, because they're like, and Zeke's just like, now, let me explain. This was all part of the plan. Because the airship's coming. So what if that was what the clock was for? Because they knew at, like, okay, I don't know what time that is. I can't tell time. I think it's like, what, 11? Like, 11 o'clock on the dot, the airship is coming and we gotta go. So that means, Levi, you need to be ready to cut me out in time so we can go on the airship. That's my whole thing. And I'm just like, like, I don't know. I know I sound so crazy. I'm so sorry, guys. But, like, it's the watch. Like, what does the time matter? Unless Levi's looking at the watch because of the airship, because he knows that the airship is coming at a certain time. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, that could exist without the Zeke theory, that Levi's looking at the watch because he's like, ah, shit, I only have 20 minutes to go kill Zeke, right, and get my revenge. But I don't know. I feel like something else is happening. And it was, you're running out of time, right? And so that's what I was saying, is that he's running out of time. Why? Because the airships are coming. So that was a really sketchy thing, is that Levi is looking at this watch, and then Zeke says you're running out of time. Like, I feel like that had to be on purpose. Like, it had to be, right? Because if he's running out of time, he's running out of time because the airship's coming. You better come kill me quick because the airship's coming. And that is part of the plan. Anyways, I've exhausted myself on this, but yeah, and see, look at him, he's just like, like, what I love about this scene is that before he can even give the rundown of what's going on with Reiner, it seems like the commander was genuinely always worried or cared about him. He's like, what are you doing? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Right? Like, I feel like that he cared more about them than I initially thought based on the first couple episodes. At first I was just like, like, he seems like kind of 50-50, right, on whether or not he cares about the Eldians. But given his behavior with Gabby and Falco, I think that we can safely say that he does genuinely care about the candidates, right? Because in the first episode, you get that vibe from him that he doesn't really, like, You know what I mean? But I feel like he does genuinely care about them, right? You know? And so I think I really, really like that. And this scene is crazy because he's saying, you know, Aaron did this to Reiner, but he looks up, right? I didn't catch the eye, but his eye's looking down, and then he looks up and he's like, Aaron Yeager? And then he's just looking at Gabby, and Gabby's just like, huh, like with the gun. And I think that this was such a great scene. Like, I just love it. Oh my god. Gabby's gonna be so cool. Like, she's gonna be so cool and murderous. I wonder if they're gonna try to, like, sneak onto the blimp or something. Like, you think that there would be better security than that, considering, like, the blimp is going to get a bunch of soldiers, and she obviously is dressed nothing like them. You think they would notice a kid sneaking on in the blimp? But I could see it. Like, I could see her try. Whether she'll succeed, we'll find out. And then we see all the ships, and this is where I was like, ah, fuck, they're so screwed. And then the amazing thing happened, and that was this little boat, and I was like, what? And then we see Armin, and that's when we know that these people are so fucked. The level of destruction that we see, like, unprecedented level of destruction. It is crazy. And this reminds me of those things, like, do you guys know, like, Pompeii and stuff like that? Like, how, you know, these volcanoes erupt, or sometimes it's like nuclear bombs and things, and they leave a shadow of the person in the street, and like that happened with Pompeii, I think, like, just, I don't know how to explain it, just like shadows on the ground because of this like disaster and how people were embedded into the ground, like just all of those sorts of things. Like, that's what this reminded me of, is that these people, like, they literally, like, I don't even know how to explain it, like, they literally just disintegrated, like, they turned into those shadows on the floor type of thing. And I thought that that was just so crazy. And you see, like, all of them just stop, right? And like, you see even he's just like on the back, and he's just like looking out, and you just see it looks like genuinely it looks like a nuclear explosion. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen these videos, but I remember watching in class, I think it was in class, this video about like what would happen if a nuclear bomb dropped in like a populated city today. Like, what would happen? Like, where would the fallout be? Things like that, right? And it had the different radius and what would happen if you were in that radius. Like, that is what this looks like to me. It's just insane. And so they're seeing the battleships fly through the sky, and Falco's just like, battleships? Like, and it's just crazy because you see these ships are flying, like, those ships are gone, right? They were like, oh, we'll call down the fleet, right? They'll call down the battleships. They're all dead. The people that were coming down from the mountains, like the trainees or whatever, they were doing special training up in the mountains, they're probably not dead because I don't think that they were around here to begin with, but just all of this area is just leveled, and they're like literally shocked. Like, it's crazy. Like, I think that Falco is like shocked, but Gabby has this like dead look in her eye. Like, she can't even comprehend this amount of destruction. Like, she's just pointing, right? And so it's just crazy, and to see them get flung like that, and they're all holding on for dear life, and it's just insane. And you see like this cloud, it's insane. And I like that they point out the Titan they stole from Bertold. I thought that that was a really good touch to include that in the scene. Guess they didn't barge in here without a plan after all. And honestly, I think that's Armin's doing. I think that Aaron did barge in without a plan, and then Armin was like, ah, fuck. He went in without a plan, didn't he? And then Armin had to build the plan basically from scratch because he knew that Aaron was being a little reckless, right? And in that way, are Porco and Aaron really that different in behavior? Aaron is a lot more cool and calculated now, but I feel like that back then, like, I don't know, Porco now reminds me a lot of Aaron back then, and I feel like that may be relevant. How Aaron and Reiner have this I'm the same as you conversation, I feel like that's not just limited to Reiner. Like, I feel like that Aaron and the connections or the parallels or the foils, whatever you want to call them, those narrative things drawn to each other, I don't think that he'll only have that with Reiner. I think that Aaron's really capable of having that to Falco, to Gabby, especially considering that some of Falco and Gabby's scenes directly parallel scenes from season 1 of Attack on Titan with Aaron. So it seems like what actually spurs Porco into action here is knowing that the Colossal Titan is there, and the fact that that was Bertold's Titan, right? I think that it really reminds him of losing Bertolt and also losing his brother. That was a big thing in the past couple episodes that they talked about, and so I feel like that those are all connected to his rage. And so even though he's being reckless, and even though I can be like, ha ha, he should have listened to Pick, like, it's not that simple either, because it's that emotion behind him wanting to get revenge for his friends, for his brother. All of that is compounding into why he's done this, right? And so I really, really like the scene. So what's so interesting about this is as soon as Porco leaves, right, Peck is looking over there, and in that split second, Levi comes in, and she even warns him. She's like, hey, War Chief, here comes their attack, and he's just like, I don't care. Like, he just sits there, right? He's like, before he can even do anything, he's cut open. But I think that that was on purpose. They were waiting for an opportunity where their backs would be turned to get him out of there, right? And so she's just so shocked, and she's like, what? And then you see Levi on the other end of all this blood, which is just crazy. And Levi genuinely looks like he wants to murder him, though. That's the only hole in my theory, is that I feel like that Levi genuinely wants revenge for what happened. And so that's the only thing where I'm like, but it seems like that Levi does want to kill him, though. So would they really work with him, even if they were like, oh yeah, he was a undercover agent the entire time, even if he was super undercover and just killing people to keep up the facade? Like, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't that seem a little bit like, at this point, like, for him to have done all this? And like, Levi genuinely seems to hate him. So, I mean, both could be true, though. He could genuinely hate him, but know that they need to recover him for the plan or something. One may say that there are bigger fish to fry in this case, is that he's like, yeah, I do hate you, but we kind of need you, because the fish to fry in this case is Marley, is the rest of the world too, if they fight against Paradis, right? And so it may be a, like, needs of the many situation where Levi puts his feelings aside for the mission, but I don't know. He looks like he kind of hates him, so I'm so like, I don't know. I just don't know, like, would they do that? Would Zeke's past actions make sense? I feel like that in between this week and next week, I should go rewatch the entire season with Zeke in it and, like, mark down everything he does and try to figure this out. Like, every instance of him being kind of sus. And so then we see this, and I don't even know what kind of face Levi's making there. I think that he is kind of disturbed because he does see children, but at the same time, he does the grenade anyway, and Gabby actually reaches out, but the commander's like, you cannot do anything, stay over here. And I feel like Gabby not being able to do anything is something that's gonna come up later, especially if there are, like, titans for grabs, right? Like, if people start dying, there may be titans for grabs for the candidates, and so I sort of wonder if Falco does get Reiner's powers like he wanted. I feel like Gabby would be so mad about that. Like, I feel like that Gabby would feel like she needed those powers. She needed them because unlike Falco, who's a little, you know, he's a little wishy-washy, or he doesn't have the same conviction as she does later on, I feel like that she thinks that she could utilize that power more and she could kill Eren with the Titan power, and that could be a conflict for them later on. But I feel like equally they could both have a Titan power later on for that specific reason. It's just a matter of who would die for Gabby to also get a Titan. Yeah, she just moved away for 1 second and Zeke was already dead. And then we have Sasha coming in with the head kill, and I'm not gonna show that. I think that's a little too graphic for this video. I know this is Attack on Titan, but again, I'm trying to stay within YouTube's thingies, so this could get at least limited ads. Let's aim for limited ads. It doesn't really matter that much to me. I mean, it only matters that much to me because if a video has limited ads or it's not monetized, YouTube doesn't care to push it out into recommendeds or anything like that. So it's not like, oh, Cal wants that whole $2 that she would make off of those views. It's more just like, I want people to share in this with me, and it's hard when you're suppressed by YouTube if your videos don't monetize because they don't care if it's not making them any money, right? And so that's the whole thing. But yeah, so we're just gonna avoid that, but there is something in that scene that I would like to look at. So what's actually interesting is while I was looking for these pictures, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but in the other guy's bubble, like, I don't know what they are, in the other guy's tank thingy, he has a picture of a girl, and it's sort of like, it's not like risque, like you can see like a little bit of ass crack, like it's really nothing, but I know that again, YouTube doesn't like things like that, and so I can't show you guys that picture, but I thought that was an interesting piece of characterization for him, the fact that he has a, you know, a girlfriend that he wanted to go home to, and he had a kind of a risque picture of her in his tank. I thought that was interesting, but then you see for him, who he really liked, right, like one guy has his girlfriend, okay, very normal, but for this guy, the most important people to him were this regiment of the people that ride on Peck's back in the tanks, and he even has a picture of her in here. And so you really get that this poor headshot guy really loved her, and I feel like that the through line that they've had with this, with introducing them saving her, them all fighting in a battle together, only for all of them to die terribly, I feel like that was such a good setup for these guys, because when they were first introduced, I was like, okay, she could have called for help, like she could have sent them a secret SOS in that hug. I did say that in my discussion, but the other side of me was like, oh, well, you know, they could have just did that, the light in the mood, right? But nothing is ever for, you know, just for nothing in Attack on Titan. I think that that's what we've all learned. Like, even that drunk guy in that, like, oh, they just did this to lighten the mood, funny scene, ha. Like, even him and his wife, like, had a little bit of impact in the last episode when we see them both die. And so I feel like that was a even more intense version of the drunk man, and then also the soldiers at the gate, right? We have this scene with the soldiers at the gate sort of teasing Falco and Gabby about the feelings that they both clearly have for each other. And then on the flip side, then you see them protect Gabby later on, and you see that scene and how they were willing to sacrifice themselves to protect Gabby in that moment, right? It's a very nice, like, oh, this scene was sort of like a lighthearted scene, but then it comes back later in an emotional way. I feel like that they did a really good job with these guys in the 3 beats that they had, introducing them saving Peck, and then them having this scene where they all die together. It's just so sad, but it's so narratively cool, and I really like that. So this scene is just crazy to see the level of destruction here, especially because you can imagine that this area-ish was the beach, because I think there are some boats here, and so the water is just, like, gone. And then you see, like, how all of the buildings have been leveled and destroyed. It's just crazy. And Armin sees, like, there are people under the rubble, there's a little boy, and so he's, like, looking at this little boy, and then he looks and he says, are these the sort of sights that you saw, Bertold? And so I feel like that's such a meaningful scene, because I think that he has Bertold's memories, but just to also live through it yourself, it's like, this is what Bertold lived through, not just in combat with other nations, as we can imagine, but this is the exact same sight that Bertold saw the day that they attacked the walls. I think that is what this line, oh my god, little chills, that is what this line is supposed to mean. It's that comparison, that these are their enemies. They should feel glad to see this destruction, but Armin knows better, that these were just people living their lives. I mean, except for the soldiers, I guess, but even the soldiers are still people, right? But I'm saying that a lot of the damages here have been civilian. A lot of civilians have been hurt, and so I feel like that what he is saying is that, are these the sights that you saw when you broke down our wall and you killed our civilians? And again, I feel like that's really the theme of the entire season, is that now the characters from the island are doing the exact same things that Bertold and Reiner did to them, and they're feeling the weight of that. What's crazy here is Falco just standing in front of Peck like this is going to work. And he does seem to hesitate for a moment, because Falco is crying and there is sort of a change in his eyes a little bit, but it doesn't seem like he cares per se, because he does launch the missile, right? And so what I think was interesting about this scene is that the bullet, or the missile, I guess, actually misses. And so on one hand, he says, I missed. Was it because of the steam or ... right? And then he says, is it my fault I missed? And to me, that is bringing up an interesting question. Does Falco have some inner power that we don't know about? Because remember, in the very first episode, he sees a vision of the flying soldier, something that he shouldn't really be seeing, right? Because it's not like he has any memories from the island. He shouldn't be seeing stuff like that, but yet, like, he seems to see it the same way where Peck, like, recognizes the flying soldiers in the last episode, except he sort of has it in a weird, hazy dream way. Now, he could have heard stories, right? But at the same time, I feel like there was something significant about that, and so he thinks it's because of the steam that it went, but what if it's like something else, like mystical power, fate, if you will, fate that Falco cannot die until he's fulfilled whatever purpose that is. I don't know. I think that that's an interesting idea, because he says, was it the steam? Like, it looked like it was, but was it? Did Falco do something? Does Falco have special powers that we don't know about? And so they are able to get her away. I thought that this was a really good scene. You see all the soldiers that they're still putting up a fight. Not only the war chief, but Pick too. And so he, even gets more mad. Like, I feel like he realized his mistake in letting them be alone, but at the same time, he's even more resolved to fight against Aaron now, because it's not only Bertolt and his brother and the other people that have died because of Aaron, but now it's also Zeke. It's also Pick, which he has, like, such a good relationship with, right? And so I felt like this was just so brutal, this scene. He, like, he punches him so much in this area, I think a little bit after this, but it's also brutal, too, like, how sharp he is, right? To cut off the limbs like that and to scratch up his face. Like, he got some good hits on Aaron, like, not gonna lie. He did get some good hits, but this is where everything was mistaken, because he realized that the claws in the mouth of the Jaw Titan were able to break the crystal. And then we see that Aaron has this, like, light bulb moment, this realization that this is what they've needed all along. And that's why I think it would be interesting if somebody, not Aaron, like, Aaron doesn't need to collect all the Titans, right? Like, I don't think he needs to do that narratively, but it would be interesting if somebody else did get Porco's power, so they could go in there and, like, boop, 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 like, open up Annie, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, right? And so I really liked this scene, and I like that Mikasa's just, like, ready for it, right? She's just like, damn it, like, so fast, and, like, she's just ready, but Aaron's just like, well, hold on a minute, I have a plan. Like, I think that was just really cool, because he sees that it's cracking, and she sees it too, and she's like, fuck, like, couldn't that man have just stayed over there? Like, I feel like she's probably, I'd be mad, right? I'd be mad if I were her, like, you fucked it up, right? And so, oh man, and then we have this scene where she's not regenerating fast enough, but she's a Titan, so why? And so I wonder if this connects with what Reiner said, is that it's about the will to live, because Gabby does say, like, hey, the Cart Titan isn't exactly known for their toughness, but what if it's not about toughness? What if her will to live is wavering because she thinks that she's lost Zeke, and she's probably lost Porco, right? Like, Porco's not looking too good out there, right? And so what if it's because she lost hope? But what if when Reiner comes up, she regains hope again, and that's what heals her, and that's why in the preview we see that she's at least sat up. I don't know if she's okay, but she's at least sat up in the preview. So I think that that's really interesting, is that that can all be connected, is that right now she doesn't have the will to live, she's not healing herself fast enough because of that, she thinks that everything is hopeless, but then Reiner comes in, and the kids say that Reiner is coming to save Porco, and that is giving her the power to continue, because not all hope is lost anymore. Porco can still be saved. I think that that's great. And so then they talk about Reiner. You said that Aaron got him and he's not moving. Can't he fight? Hey, I don't know. He's still underground behind the stage, but I'm thinking we should leave Reiner out of it. So that was a very interesting choice, because again, this is where the ideologies conflict, especially knowing what he knows about Reiner, right? I feel like that's something that he wants to do, that we should leave Reiner in peace, right? And I still think it would be interesting, like, if one of them were like, no, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna get the serum and we're gonna eat him. But I think that the process is probably a little more complicated, and I doubt that any of the soldiers, except maybe the commander, has any of that on him right now. But it's crazy, because he's saying, like, we should leave Reiner out of it, and Gabby's like, what do you mean leave Reiner out of it? Like, why should Reiner be left out of it? Everybody else is already dead. If Reiner can fight, he needs to fucking fight. Like, I don't care about his feelings. And so Gabby is very, I don't care about his feelings because we've already lost so much. Whereas Falco is like, I care about Reiner's feelings because I have seen firsthand what a broken man he is, and he just wants to die and be at peace. And so I feel like that is what he's almost saying, is just like, let Reiner go, let Reiner die. But Gabby can't do that, and so they have this conflict with each other. And so this is like the most heartbreaking scene, or at least I think so. You see Gabby go up to the window, and it's just crazy. Like, it's just crazy to hear her scream later on. And the lights, it didn't occur to me, but they made a landing strip. That's why they were strapping on the lights. Oh man, that was so good. And they just have this blimp again. They must have had some spies on the inside gathering all this stuff, because I don't think that that's a Paradise blimp. I think that's probably a stolen blimp for the plan. And so they got some guys on the inside. They learned how to fly a blimp inside. I thought this was so cool because they have the little lights, and I was like, that's what the lights are for. And Hange, it's so good to see Hange again. Oh my god, and I like that. If we're not shot down first, that is, this was just such a cool scene. Talk about a reckless plan. You get possessed by Erwin or something. So again, if this was Armin's plan, I'm guessing that this was the best he could come up with to go get Aaron out of the hole that Aaron probably put himself in, to be honest. But I think that this is a really good plan, in my opinion. It seems away, but I think that the blimp has a good chance of getting away unscathed. And I thought this was so nice because Armin's like, I can only hope if it means his strength is with me. And I was just like, oh, like that was so nice. And so then you see that they're waiting on the roof, so everyone's just sort of waiting to be picked up at this point. They're waiting for Eren to eat the Warhammer, and then they're all gonna get the fuck out. What's happening after that? I don't know. Clearly we're not done here though, because Reiner is still clearly around at the end of this episode, and so I feel like that it's not going to be as easy as an escape as they probably think. But I am interested, and so I love this. Like, you guys think you're escaping on that? Not happening, right? But then we see that Mikasa comes in, cuts off the legs, because I guess Eren was like, psst, like, Mikasa, here's the plan. And so that was what their conversation was doing. And so I feel like, again, Porco not watching his back because he's just so distracted by everything, right? He's like, okay, fuck Eren, I'm gonna go get the blimp. And then before they can get the blimp, this happens. And it's such a brutal scene to see him get tossed around and just punched over and over. This is when he gets punched over and over. And then Gabby and Falco, you can actually hear it still in the scene where they're waiting by the window. And it's just nutty to see the arms get ripped off. And at first I thought he was going to take the arm and just scratch it. But I guess this was more effective and also way more gruesome. To just put it in his mouth and like, right? And so I feel like that was just so crazy. Like, he's basically just using him at this point. It's just so crazy because he has no more way to fight. Basically his weapons have been cut off by Mikasa and also ripped off by Eren. And all he can do is sit there and watch as Eren uses him to get the Warhammer Titan's powers. And it's just so fucked up. And with Porco, I feel like that even though Reiner's out, couldn't Eren just go chomp and then go after Reiner? Like, I don't know if Reiner's gonna let that happen, but I feel like that Porco, definitely some death flags for him. I feel major death flags for him, but it's crazy because, and she's just standing there. Like, I feel so much for this woman because she was just doing her best to protect herself, to try and get out of this situation where her power wouldn't be lost. She was hoping to be recovered, I'm assuming. And instead, he went into battle, he did some dumb stuff, they figured out what he's used for, what his power is, or what he could be used for, I should say, and then it just all went to hell, and it's just so awful. Like, she just looks like that, she can only sit there and watch too, and she's just given up, and it's just crazy to see the cracking, and then they're watching it too. And Mikasa's watching, but she's watching it in a more somber, solemn way. Like, she, I think, is horrified by the brutalization that Eren has done for both her, like for the Warhammer Titan, but also onto Porco, like ripping off his limbs. Like, I feel like Mikasa isn't entirely comfortable with this either. We see the crystal shatters, and then Eren sucks up the leftovers, I guess, I don't know, the food, right? And so I think that it would kind of be interesting if this plan backfired and the powers actually went to Porco, just because it was in his mouth. But with the way that it's angled, I don't think that physics or gravity or whatever works like that, and he also swallows and something happens in his eyes. So I think that he did definitely get it. That would be an interesting twisty twist, but at the same time, I don't think that that's what happened. I think he genuinely got the Warhammer, because like, if you're holding something up like this, right, it's like my water bottle, right? If you're holding something up like this and you're going like, let me close that so we don't have an accident, but you're going like this, right? Like, there's no way for it to like fall backwards, right? Like, you're holding it up at that angle. The liquid should go in your mouth, theoretically. And so we see this happen with the eyes though. And it almost seems like that I don't know if this is like legit or anything. Like, I don't know if this is on purpose, but it seems like there may be a different color for each power that he has. Because there's blue over here, but then there's orange over here. So what if the thing with the eye, maybe I just didn't capture it, was like a third color, and that's supposed to represent all the different powers he has. I don't know if that's a thing. That's probably not a thing, but I was thinking about it when I saw, because I don't know, it could just be the reflection, but like, what is it the reflection of? Like, he's just in his little meat cage, right? He's in his little red meat cage in the eyeballs or wherever he is, right? Like, in the nape, obviously, but like inside of the Titan, like, there's nothing blue in there, I don't think. And so I feel like that maybe, I don't know, a clue. The Warhammer was eaten and the Jaw Titan is next, and it's just so crazy to see him just pummel him over and over and over again, and you can hear that in this window scene, right? And it's just, he just looks so hopeless, like he's just given up, right? And so then Gabby starts to call Reiner, and this was the most chilling, like raw, voice acting experience, but also just character moment for her. Like, I compared it to a baby. Like, she's basically crying like a little kid, and you can't stop yourself from helping a baby or like going to see a baby when a baby is crying, right? Because your natural instinct is to want to comfort and protect that child, or at least I think so, right? For most people, like, even if they don't like kids, they'll still care if one is crying. Like, that's just basic, like, human empathy, I think. And so I feel like that raw crying, like, really is just like a child. Like, Gabby is a child, but like a baby, like a literal baby. Right, that wailing, and that she's just calling for him. And then I think that Falco also joins in. I think that he calls Reiner as well, but I feel like that was really interesting for Gabby to do that. Like, she's just desperately pleading with him. And I think that it's interesting on two fronts, because the kids are what saved him the first time, and I think I talked about that in my reaction. The kids are what saved him the very first time, and so it's very fitting in that sense that now the kids are his will to live the second time, right? Because he was ready to do the bad thing that we can't talk about on YouTube. And then Falco was outside, and Falco is what made him not go through with that, because he saw Falco and he remembered, and he was like, I need to live for them. Like, there's still something to live for. I need to do good by the kids. Like, that is what he was thinking in that moment. So he's asking them, please be quiet, because with your cries of pain, I won't be able to say no to you. I think that is the point of this scene, is that he wants them to stop yelling, because if they continue yelling, how can he refuse them? They were the ones that he was supposed to protect all this time, so how can he say no to them? Now with Pick, I did think she was dead, but I think that she's more hopeless, and I think that this is also the scene that maybe we'll see next episode of she seeing the kids call out to Reiner, and Reiner responds, and that gives her hope, and that gives her more healing juice. That is my theory about that. At first I thought she was dead, but I was just like, 'cause she had this vacant look on her face, sort of like what Udo had, right, when Udo was dying, and so I feel like she's dying, but I feel like that she's looking at them because she's like, is Reiner going to come? And then when Reiner does come, then she'll feel hopeful again, and she'll have more healing juice. And then he opens his eyes, because he can't say no to them. He can't ignore them while they're helplessly crying for him, and I felt like that was such a meaningful scene. And I feel like Reiner, I know it's a little early to say, like, I feel like this season of Attack on Titan is gonna go down in some, like, anime history. Like, I feel like that it is. But I feel like that Reiner specifically as a character, I feel like that he's just gonna be one of those characters that people reference and make video essays on for all time. Like, it's not gonna be just this year after the show's over, or next year. It's gonna be like the next 5 years, the next 10 years, everyone's gonna look back on Reiner and Reiner's character thread and his arc in his, like, narrative development. Like, it's just so cool to see, because you have this, like, very broken man in this scene. Like, you see the look in his eyes, but he can't not save those kids. Like, he can't not fight for those kids, and that's such a turnaround in his character, and it is crazy how much you love him for that, right? Eren is about to eat Porco, but then Reiner comes in and Eren stops, and I wish that Eren could chop anyway, but that wouldn't be so good for, like, the stakes of it all, right? It's more interesting for him to not have eaten Porco, even though I wish that he would have, because now that they also have to fight for Porco in a way. I mean, Eren could easily just be like, oh, Reiner's back there? Chomp. Like, he could easily just do that and then fight with all 4 powers, but I think that Porco may be safe for now. I don't know, but this is cool, because this design looks a little different, doesn't it? Like, his armored titan design looks a bit different than normal, or is that just me? Am I just remembering something wrong? I know that it's like a different studio, so maybe they have a different style in how they portray Reiner's body, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like it is different, so don't come for me if it's not, but I feel like that it is. It looks a little different for me. And so this is the preview scene, and so again, this is Peck, so I think that she is actually okay, even with that expression on her face. I think that I don't know, she does look sad, so I'm like, is she reacting to Porco dying? But I don't think so. I think that Reiner will give her enough hope to at least start healing herself a little bit faster, even if she's not a-okay quite yet, right? And so Gabby picks up a gun and takes off, and so I feel like that, again, this is going to be some sort of conflict between Falco and Gabby's ideology. I feel like that's going to be interesting. And then we have this, and so we have Eren, right? He's just, missing his shoe on the floor. Well, he's missing his shoe because he only had one leg, right? he regrew his leg. Then we have Levi over here, so I wonder why they're all, you know, pointing guns like that, but it seems like they're in, I guess, are they in the blimp? Is that what it looks like? But it's weird because it seems like the Gabby did actually sneak in here, and earlier I was like, would she really be able to sneak in with all those people coming? But this looks more like a train, or like, I don't know. It looks more like a submarine to me. I guess I have to look at it more, but I don't know where they are, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, but Gabby is, you know, ready for them, ready to start shooting at some Survey Corps members. And so I guess that she just snuck in and that she wasn't noticed, and that maybe these are the Survey Corps that just got picked up. Now here's my thing. Is she going to go for Sasha, considering that Sasha killed the guards? I'm inclined to say yes. I'm inclined to say two things. That Zeke's thingy, if Zeke has a thingy, may be revealed next episode, if I'm right about that. But what I'm certain of is if Gabby is in here, I think that Sasha is this one. I think that Sasha's gonna die. I think that Gabby's gonna get her revenge a little sooner than I expected, to be honest. Like, I didn't expect for Gabby to get revenge until she became a Titan shifter, but now I'm looking and I'm just like, well, if she got all the way in there with a gun, like, all it's gonna take is like one headshot and people not noticing her to kill Sasha. So, like, I like Sasha. I'm not, like, I am emotionally attached to Sasha. Like, during the reaction, I will probably cry. But, like, I can just say that, like, as a matter of factly, because I just feel like it's, death flags for her. We talked about that last week. I was like, she looked into Sasha's eyes and saw Sasha was the one that killed the guards at the gate. So would it not make sense if she has snuck in for that to be the first person she goes for, other than Aaron, right? Obviously Aaron, but who's the other person that she recognizes immediately? Right? And so that's all from me, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this discussion video, a little bit longer than my other ones, but it was definitely worth it. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Check out the Patreon if you guys want rewards to support the channel in general, because these videos do take a very long time to make. They take a long time to make and edit. So if you guys want to support that, you guys should go ahead, check out the Patreon, YouTube membership member, join the Discord server if you guys want to talk with us. And that is about it from me, guys. I will see you guys next week. Bye!